Now we come to the portion of the service before we do our Bible study. We address some end times news and trends that are happening as it relates to Bible prophecy. And some of you are well aware of the tension and the Middle East crises that's going on. And there's also even more geopolitical things going on worldwide that's happening. The agenda is being promoted. And but just within the latest situation, what's going on in Syria, as you know, just this past week, the military developments of Turkey launched its military operations, and we see how Texas or the Turkish President Erdogan, days after Trump's administration announced the decision to pull the U.S. troops out of the area, he wrote on Twitter, according to his site's translation into English, says that their aim is to destroy the terror corridor, which is trying to establish in our southern border, bringing peace and peace within the region. And that's not what he's going to do, but this is his, idea of what he wants to do. He's also made a claim that he is the new Islamic empire, the Caliphate, as well, has been a title that he's been trying to get. Back when he was voted in as president in 2015, and then last year they gave him extraordinary powers, unprecedented in any other country so far, but he's trying to earn that title of Caliph, which is a title that's given to the Muslim prophet Muhammad. Caliphs were considered the rightful leaders of the Muslim people, so he wants to be the leader of all the Islamic empire. And there was an article that was given back last year, and we mentioned it way back then, in a Turkish paper that claimed the regime in Turkey, the desires to form an army of Islam to attack and to destroy the state of Israel. The article talked about some 57 states, or nations I should say, member nations of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. So all these Islamic countries are coming together to join forces to eventually outnumber and try to take over Israel. And that's the whole goal and agenda within this particular organization. And these are some things, these are all pieces of the puzzle that are all coming together, especially what's happening in Syria right now. So we just got to keep alert in what's happening. Even an interesting article came out of the Wall Street Journal that talks about Putin as the new king of Syria. And so you see how he's got certainly a foothold there. And if it wasn't for him, Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, certainly would be out. So he's definitely got a foothold there. Plus, it's all part of the Ezekiel 38 prophecy that Russia would be part of that. And another interesting article that talks about this decline of religion as more adults check out none, according to a Pew Research. And this took place in the States, and if it's happening there, it's happening around the world as well. How people are not following the Lord these days. They're not plugged in churches these days. But the religiosity in the U.S. is on a sharp decline, according to the Pew Research on Thursday, with the ranks of people who don't adhere to any faith growing fast while the church attendance has fallen steeply. The religious landscape in the U.S. continues to change at a rapid clip. And so the Pew Research did a survey between 2018 and 2019 where it talks about 65 American adults describe themselves as Christians when asked about the religion, down 12% over the past decade. So you start to see there's a decline that is happening. In the U.S., we're seeing it all over the world as well. There's pockets where you do see things growing, but by and large, it seems that Christianity is losing the momentum. And there's a lot of different reasons why. A lot of it is apathy and complacency that has crept into the church. People are so complacent, so apathetic, it can care less. It's not a priority to follow the Lord these days or be involved in church these days. Finding good Bible teaching churches is one of those nightmare for so many people as well. But the distractions and misplaced priorities, it's unbelievable today compared to what it was 20 years ago. The things that people are facing today is a whole different ballgame than it was 10, 20 years ago. But all these things contribute to the decline So we need to be praying for revival. And again, we need to make that personal choice in ourselves. Where are we at with the Lord? Is He number one in our life, or other things number one in our life? And you'll see a radical change when He is truly Lord of your life. He comes first in everything. You'll see a radical change in how you behave, your attitudes, how you serve, etc., your workplaces, everything. On another note, is this agenda that's being promoted and pushed like never before. And we've talked about it multiple times, this whole LGBT agenda. There's even a cereal that came out by Kellogg's in the States, Start Your Day with Maximum Gay. And so it's this combination of all these cereals, coming together, and they're just really pushing this whole agenda, this agenda started 20 plus years ago. And the whole goal is, just like what took place, with Hitler, is that your goal is to reach the children. And once they become adults, they've fully adopted into this. And it starts with the cartoons, all the Disney programs. It starts there. And this is how they're brainwashing the young generation. And I bring it up because you see how far the world has pushed, promoted, perverted, poisoned through this LGBTQIP agenda. It's unbelievable that this agenda, again, is on a recruiting mission. They recruit. And since less than probably 2% of the U.S. population, and even here it's even less in Australia, but yet government and schools and things, they're bowing down to that 1%, 2%. So it changes everything. So they are going to have more rights and privileges than normal straight people. Okay? And if you don't buy into that agenda, they're going to fire you. They're going to lose your tax exemption status for a lot of the churches, which has been promoted by some Democrat presidential candidates. But even see airlines, they're into this idea as well and how they're promoting it. You even see how Air Canada uses gender-neutral terms instead of saying ladies and gentlemen. They're not even saying that on their flights anymore. You have Christian school administrators suspended after questioning the LGBT agenda because of the Pride Month, and they're loading their library with a plethora of LGBT books and material. And just because he's questioning why are we doing this, he gets suspended. You do have, again, a lot of the Democrat candidates right now ultimately wants to see churches closed. They want to raise taxes. They also want to have part of their healthcare system to pay for sex reassignment surgery. So that's covered, but someone's medications or hearing aid is not going to be covered. And we can go on and on and on with all these different headlines. But just reading and hearing this whole agenda, it's exactly what Romans chapter 1 talks about in verse 18 through 32. The list of sins and the perversion that's going on, it's getting worse every single week. And you know what's going to happen? The wrath of God, the judgment of God's going to come. And it's going to come ultimately when the church is out of here. The church is being a preservative in society. We're like salt, preserving. But once it's removed, the world's going to be celebrating. You don't have these born-again fundamental Christians out here, that's praying for people, that's shedding light and pointing people to truth and morality. It's going to get crazy and out of control. And we've already seen how things have sped up over the last several years. It's going to continue to increase. And the way I've pictured it is kind of like a piece of food or trash on the ground. You know how one ant will come and then two ants, and ultimately it's just flooded, and you're seeing how quickly that happens. And that's kind of what's happening in the promiscuity and the immorality that's going on through the world. Anyways, we need to stand firm in the Word and in truth and be ever so committed to the Lord and to what He wants us to do and to shine the light and to love these people. Not to condemn them. They're condemned because of their sin and Satan, but we need to love these people, point them to the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ, but we need to keep looking to Jesus, and perhaps today He might come. The question is, are we ready? And there's going to come a day we're not going to be saying that anymore because we're already gone. And the time is short, so we don't have a lot of time left. So we got to do what we can to tell people about the good news of Jesus Christ. Amen? That's it for today's update.